Today's session is how to combine LinkedIn and email marketing to generate more leads. The reason I feel like I'm an expert in this place and why I want to introduce this session is I'm the founder of a software called Prospect Labs, and we're a mix of three things. We're a lead generation software, we're a lead generation academy where we run training, and then we're also an agency that has done for you services as well. So what I want to show you today is all the practical things that we do and we do for other people, just to try and show you what works for us and what you can replicate. There's going to be a mix of a lot of manual approaches and a lot of automated approaches today. The automated approaches, I'm going to show you Prospect Labs, but I'm sure there are a range of softwares out on the market that you can use, or you can always use manual as well. So how you actually want to generate leads is up to you, but I don't want to make this session all about why use Prospect Labs. This session is about how you get better at LinkedIn and how you do things manual. But if you do want automated, that's why I'm going to show you what I personally do. The other tool we're going to be showing you is Snovio, snov.io, which is an email marketing tool. And what I want to show you today is how I combine the whole approach of two different channels, the LinkedIn lead generation, the email marketing, and that sweet spot in between, which is how do you do the social selling, liking posts, endorsing people, following companies, that sort of thing. So to very, very quickly introduce myself, my name is Patrick Collins. I'm the founder of Prospect Labs. I live in Lithuania. I've been there for about 5 years, but I'm from the UK, from Newcastle upon Tyne. I don't have too much of an accent, but I think the Geordie comes out more when I'm back home. But it's a pleasure to be able to work with companies all over the world. And my expertise predominantly is working with startups or tech businesses that are trying to scale very quickly. And my expertise is helping you find the right lead generation channels, a formula that works manual, and once you start to get some really good results, integrate all the automation to really, really scale. And over the past couple of years, from building these processes and training teams again and again and again, I've created Prospect Labs, which is a lead generation software. And so what I want to do today is let's split this up in a few things. LinkedIn, how can you have a really strong LinkedIn approach for outbound marketing? How can you generate more leads? Then the inbound marketing, how can you create content? How can you endorse people? How can you like post, the bit in between? Then email, how do you find anybody's business email? Then I want to show you how to bring this all together to do a fully automated approach. So any of you on this call or webinar that say I'm experts, this is too simple, bear with me. It's going to get very, very advanced very quickly. Anybody that said this is too advanced, great. You should be pushing yourself and learning more things all the time. So let's get started. I want to show you my approach and I'll show you what I want to do. So if you think of this whole approach of lead generation, the first thing I do on LinkedIn is say, finding your target audience. And there's the traditional ways that everybody looks at LinkedIn, which is a basic search on LinkedIn, try and find somebody, message people, that sort of thing. The problem with this is LinkedIn recently implemented a rule that say you can only connect with 100 people per week if, and this is a really strong if, you're not getting a high connection rate. The reason I say if is a lot of people have been messaging us at Prospect Labs saying, how do I get around this connection rate? How do I send more messages? And the answer is, you shouldn't have a limitation at all. This limitation is not for everybody. This limitation is for people that were getting a low connection rate. So very, very quickly, just for the point of this, you can see here where I send 140 connection messages in a day, and these ones where I send up to about 30 to 40, sometimes 50 a day, doing this on a daily basis. So in terms of sending connection messages, there is not a limitation to send 100 per week for everybody. There's a limitation to people who are not using LinkedIn in the right way. And so what I'm going to show you today is all of those approaches to use LinkedIn in the best way. And the best way is the safest way, but the more high scale way as well. Okay, so finding your target audience, step one, where do we go? This is the first hack that I do that I tell everybody to try and do this. Today, I'm showing you about email marketing and LinkedIn. So my target audience is anybody that's linked to email marketing. So on LinkedIn search, if I type in email marketing, I'm looking for a few things. Number one, are there any courses? Because if there are any courses on LinkedIn where they're training you on email marketing, I can do the following. So if you have a look at this one here, email marketing strategy and optimization. And hopefully you can all see my screen okay. And what you can see here is on the top right of the page, there are 819 people who like this. All of those people are my target audience at Prospect Labs. And this is why. They're all going on LinkedIn, looking for a course, and they're all saying, I want to get better. And the space they want to get better at is email marketing. So the two things, the reason why I love this, they're motivated. They're trying to get better at a skill. My software can help them get better at that skill. Number two, they're active on LinkedIn. They don't just have a LinkedIn account. They're using LinkedIn to find places where they can study, where they can get better. So all these people here are the people that I would export add to a campaign and start messaging them. An example of this would be, I did a campaign recently where I scraped all the people that did an event called LinkedIn Learners Sales Playbook. So my idea was everybody was on LinkedIn Learning trying to learn how to create a sales playbook. And I thought, that's perfect. That's my target audience. So I scraped all those people, added them to this campaign, and added some really simple steps. And simply said, I'm the founder of this company, so we're both interested in the course. Let's share ideas. Nothing very strong, nothing very aggressive, just to say, we both like the course, let's get to know each other. And then one day later, when we accepted, I then said, I would love to introduce myself, let's have a chat, and very conversational. And as you can see from this, the stats, 55% connected, 40% replied. So one sort of approach that I say is really, really strong. And again, I'm showing you Prospect Labs, which is the automated way, connection, following up, scraping people. But there's the manual way as well, where you just reach out to them one by one. But my very first hack that I say to everybody is, if you have a product that's a software, if it's a service, something where people are online trying to get better, look for courses first. And again, if you have a product that helps people with sales, very simply, look at sales, look at courses, and look at all of these. And so that's my first step. I would always see, are there courses? So when I work with a client, the first thing to say is, are there courses online that are very popular that people are trying to learn from? And if there are, I can target those people to introduce mine or my client services. Okay, so that's courses. Let's look at the next one, email marketing. So again, instead of courses, the next one I do is look at events. So today I'm doing an event, and an event completely makes sense. It's one-to-many. I've got 1,200 people who've registered. There's nearly 300 on the panel today. Lots of people might be recorded, listening in, that sort of thing. What's amazing is me being able to give a talk to one-to-many and help people out. But likewise, a lot of people say, I'm not so confident doing an event. I don't really have anything to say. I've got a product to sell, but I don't have a webinar. What do I do? And in that case, I say, well, look at other people's events. So have a look at this one here, email marketing conference. The people attending there are my target audience also. So if you click attend, you can then see all the people who are there, and then here you go. So what I love about this is, before COVID, before all the craziness happened the past couple of years, the best way to get business was trade shows. The trade show would advertise like crazy, get thousands and thousands of buying customers in one room. They would then advertise to the businesses to get one room and say, go for it, sell to each other. COVID happens and everybody says, well, okay, trade shows are starting to come back, but what do we do? And LinkedIn events start to boom. So LinkedIn events are a wonderful place, like we're doing now, to get to know each other, to showcase your product, but likewise, attend other people's events and see who's attending there. Now, these aren't part of my event. These are another event, but all of these people are my target audience. All these people are people that I want to say, I saw we're both attending the same event. Let's get to know each other. Let's have a chat. In the same way on Prospect Labs, I scrape them with this called an event search. So I simply copy the URL of all the people, paste it into here, and I'll show you some campaigns that I've been running. And all of these are practical, real world. You can see the numbers. This is what I do myself to generate business for my own company. And in terms of attending events, maybe this one here. There we go. So we got 90% people accepting. Events are hugely popular. So 90% accepting, 47% replying. If we have a look at another event here, yeah, so this one here, and there you go, 80% and 40%. So the whole power of targeting people from events is really high quality. And when I said to you before, how to overcome this 100 per week limitation, the limitation is if you're getting sort of 30 to 40% of people connecting. If you're getting something like 70, 80%, you don't get a limitation. You can send 50 to 100 connections per day if you want to. So I can see some of you are raising your hand or Q&A. I'm going to keep checking bit by bit, but I just want to go through a few bits of searches first, and we'll take a quick break. So if you can find people from courses, amazing. If you can find people from events, amazing as well. From your own events, brilliant, or other people's events, see who's attending and then start to message them. One really cool thing about events is you can message anybody in the event without even being connected with them. So you don't have to be connected, you don't have to do emails. This is simply both part of the same event, speak to Gidra and say, hey, can I introduce myself? However, I prefer to connect. I feel it's way more powerful. Okay, so you're doing your searches, you have targeted events, and you've targeted courses. What's the next one? And as you can see, I stay very way away from direct messaging, just simply cold messaging. So what I like to do is go for courses, and then I go for events. The next one here is I go for groups. And groups are very similar to events in the same space. They're like-minded people in one room. The problem with groups is, as you can see here, you have some that are enormous, 50,000, 30,000, 24,000. Huge groups mean to me, number one, they're not very well moderated or validated. So they let anybody in. And if they let anybody in, some of my target audience are there, but some of them aren't. Number two, somebody might have joined this group 3 years ago, 10 years ago. It doesn't mean it's real-time relevant. So there are sort of pros and cons of why groups can be good. However, if you've got a really niche product and you find a group that's really niche and it matches up, amazing. So I know there was a company I worked with that had health and safety for corporate companies that wanted to connect health and safety products with an app. Very, very specific. They found a group and they started to connect and message. So one thing that's very, very cool about groups is if I go to any of the groups that I'm part of at the moment, and I'll just find a quick one here. Yeah, so let's have a look at this one here. If you're part of a group, what you can do is message anybody that's in the group if you click see all. So as you can see here, 680 members. If you click see all, you can message all the people here. So one approach is you can manually message one by one, reach out to them, introduce yourself. But if you're at this mindset of growth hacking, lead generation, or if you're just lazy and want to find a quicker way to get better results for you, you can automate this. So within Prospect Labs, again, what we do is we scrape people, called a group search. And this scrapes the first 2,500 people from a group. And this is why when I say you don't want to have a group that has thousands of people in, it's because you can only ever scrape the first 2,500 anyway. So if the group has 10,000, it's a perfect group. Doesn't matter. First 2,500 are the only people that you can target. So what I tend to do is scrape all the people from the group and run a campaign to all of them to introduce myself. I don't tend to introduce my business straight away, but I say, I'm running an event. I think you'd find it helpful. I've got a blog you might find helpful, but I don't just say, this is what I do. Do you want to call? But I really like going from courses, then I like going from events, and then I look for groups. Okay, if we go back to the traditional searches here of what else we can do, we now have one more that I would like to do, or a couple actually, but there's a few here. The other one that I tend to target is either for myself or for other clients is the people who follow your company. So what's really funny about this is I work with a load of companies and we say, okay, who's your target audience? And they come up with all of these different ideas, different job titles. Some people say ICP, some people say target audience, all these different people. And then I say to them, are you connecting with the people who actually follow you, who like you? And a lot of people just don't even realize this. So if you go to your own company page, and I don't really push my company page at all, it's all about pushing my personal page a lot more. But when I look at it, I'll go that way. When I look at it, what I try and do is say, are there people in here that are followers that are could be relevant? So we've got 600 followers and we've had 53 in the past 30 days. So all these people here are the people that I would then export and start to run connection campaigns to. Now, this one being incredibly powerful because some people might connect with you as competitors. Some people might be employees. Some people might generally just be a little bit nosy, but not be your target audience. But there are also a lot of you people that are just generally your target audience that read a post about you, follow your company, and you never interact with them. So the quick wins, I would say, are finding people that follow your company, export them and run a campaign to them. In terms of what I do at Prospect Labs, I do an import contact. So I export them from LinkedIn, import them to here and reach out to all of them to message. Other people tend to do this via manually. They'll export it, filter it out, and one by one reach out. So manual via automation, it's up to you, and I'm going to explain the pros and cons in a little bit. But when you're trying to think about who to target, make sure you don't sort of fall in the trap of saying everything is new when there's already an audience engaged with you. So to recap, we have courses, we have events, we have groups, and we have company. Now there's a few other ones here. If you're going down the route of saying, well, actually, I make a lot of content, I really try and educate people, look at your own content and see who likes this. So if I have a look at, let's see, my activity recently, and we'll have a look here. I did a poll about lead generation, and should it be people who generate their own leads or should it be people who do it for you? And if I can find it here quickly, there we go. So this post here, I did a poll talking about should a salesperson generate their own leads or should you as a lead generation person generate it for the salesperson to close? And it was sort of 50-50. But there was 15,000 people that saw that. Now, one of the things that I get frustrated about is you have the salespeople and you have the content people, and very rarely there's a sweet spot in between, which I'm going to introduce soon. But that sweet spot in between is creating the content, but interacting with all the people who like the content. Now here, there's 27 people liked it, 33 comments. You'll not think this is enormous numbers, but I'm a B2B business. I don't need 100 people a day. I want a couple of people a day signing up, and it's amazing. So by simply doing a poll, I've got all these people who are interacting. So what I do is copy the link, I go back to Prospect Labs, and I do what's called a post engagement. So I scrape all the people who engage with the post and want to reach out to them. And it's all automated. That you can see a campaign here called, let's see, leads feed there. This was the one. So all the people who liked this post here, I scraped them into this campaign and ran a campaign to connect with them. And again, very simple. Thanks for interacting with my poll. Would be great to connect. There's no massive, unique, unbelievable trick or hack. It's keeping it very simple and saying, you like that post, let's connect. And that alone gets you sort of 80% connection rate. And then on top of that, I then introduce myself, and on this case, I said I'm running an event. So there's 1,300 people registered for the event. One of the reasons why is for things like this. So when you have a look at the stats, the one thing that's really important here is not how to be massively complicated, but how to link two things together. If you're creating content, reach out to those people and connecting. Now, my follow-ups could maybe be improved. That should be maybe 30%. But because I'm inviting them to an event instead of asking them questions, maybe they'll just click on the link instead of actually engage with me. But when you're thinking about your approach on LinkedIn, try and find out all these different avenues. And if you can imagine so far, I haven't touched the one that most people do, which is just a basic search, which I'm going to show you in a second. But when you look at all of these approaches, try and think of yourself sort of internally and think, how creative am I being on LinkedIn? And how personalized am I being? Or am I simply saying, I'm looking for founders in Lithuania or US, so I do a search and spam everybody? Because that's finished. That approach is sort of no longer happens. You do approach, LinkedIn says 100 connections per week. That's all you've got. So this approach that I'm showing you is about trying to find all the unique places where you can go. And the unique places, just to reiterate there, if we go into email marketing, here we go. If I spell it correctly. Yeah, so you have events, so scraping your event, other people's event, and reaching out to people. You have groups where you can target other people's groups and message them. You have posts, your posts, or even other people's posts. You could scrape and try and reach out to people, that sort of thing. You have company, as in you can only scrape your own company. In the past, you used to be able to scrape other people's company followers, which is awesome, but LinkedIn realized that that's not really fair. So they stopped that, but you can always scrape your own. And then we have the final one, which is people. And so I want to show you a few tips of how I try to find people in the most suitable way. And then I'll have a quick look at the Q&A and see if there's anything relevant. Okay, good. So to find people, I press search and then enter. And I look for all filters. And here we go. And I try and filter by people who are not in my network, second and third degree, but ideally only second. I want to say friends of friends. That's who I'm looking for. And then I'll pick a location and I'll pick an industry, maybe internet, computer software, IT. So usually startups. And then I will say something like, let's see, founder, and press show results. And a lot of time you'll get a good result, but as you can see here, 7,400. Now, although that's good, a lot of these will be startup founders that could be relevant for me. There's one problem, or maybe there's a few, but one main one. There's 7,400 results, and I'm only looking for the first 1,000. The reason being, LinkedIn limits you on a basic LinkedIn account to find the first 1,000 results. In Sales Navigator, it's 2,500, but LinkedIn, it's 1,000. So what I tend to do here is then look at how do I filter this down. So LinkedIn's sort of UI is not really that helpful, because to filter people, you would think you use the filter. But no, after the filter, go back to the search and put in something specific. So if I now type in email and press enter, really, really specific now, I've got 1,800 people that are all founders, but in their job title, they have something like email. Now I can even do that a bit more different way around. I can go back to the search and say, actually, if I look for title and look for email there, and there we go, there's 24, so really, really specific. So there's a few ways of trying to filter this, but what I tend to say is if you can find a job title, say founder, and there we go, And then if you want to make it more specific, find something here. So maybe you'd say blockchain, a really specific type of startup that you want to speak to. And there you go, 655 people who are second degree in the UK, in the right industry, but they have that keyword blockchain in their profile. And that means you filter this down to a really specific audience. So if you are going to go down the route of a basic LinkedIn search, of searching for people and trying to message that way, try and make sure it's as relevant as possible, not just they're a founder in London, so let's attack, because you'll not get results. And not only do you not get good results, LinkedIn actually flag your account or suspend your account or delete your account. So LinkedIn is an amazing platform because if you're good, they love you. If you're not so good, they delete you or spam you or flag you. And it's in a weird place because you can't Google any rules on LinkedIn about what's the public rules. How many people can I connect with? How many can I visit? How can I interact? What should my connection rates be? But if you break these unwritten rules, you'll get your account suspended. So try and have common sense. LinkedIn want you to give more than you take. So by giving more you take, it's about contributing to content, creating events. And if you are interacting with people, don't be a dick, basically. Don't be a spammer. Try and interact and say how you know each other, how you can help each other, and how you can build this relationship. And if you find that routine manually, then you can scale this out automated. So just to go back to that final bit, and then I'll go through some questions here on searches. You have courses, which I really love, scrape that a lot to interact with. Events I really like, groups I really like, direct searches, companies, and posts. And I want to show you one final one. If you go to search, and I'll just filter by people, and we can maybe have founder just to start with here. What you'll see is that there's a gold icon next to some people. Gold icon here, gold icon here. What this gold icon means is they have an open profile. So an open profile means anybody can message this lady without needing to connect with her via an in-mail message. Now, this is not a paid in-mail, and it's not an in-mail credit. This is called an open in-mail campaign. Now, what's difficult with LinkedIn are there no filters to filter by open accounts. So you can't say, I want to find everybody with an open account, message all of them, and that's how I'm going to run an open campaign to them. It's impossible. So what you can do on Prosper Labs that I do a lot is actually filter all the people that I'm searching for, and I can filter in here anybody that has an open in-mail account. And what this means is all these people here have open accounts, which means that they have that gold profile. And that means I can run an open in-mail campaign to them, which is totally different to connected campaign. It's a campaign which goes directly into their inbox. And I'm going to touch on campaigns in a second. But if you filter by open in-mail, this gold icon, you can message people in a lot different way to what you can traditionally do of a connection campaign, message, that sort of thing. Okay, good. So there's 3 sections to today. We have LinkedIn, how do you find people, how do you run campaigns, email, a bit in between, and how you automate all of this. So let me just check the Q&A very quickly. I think, yeah, a few people asking about recording, so that's fine. A few people asking here. Yeah, okay, so that's all good so far in terms of messages. So if you imagine you've got Prosper Labs set up, or you're doing this manually, and you're looking for people where to target, the next thing is what types of campaigns can you run? And the campaigns that I want to show you are the ones here. So when you go to creating campaigns, you have a list of different campaigns here. So connected campaign, you all know. The connected campaign is where you find somebody that's not in your network, reach out to them and send a connection request. And I'll show you this very, very quickly. So people, all filters, second degree. And there you go. All these people are my second degree network. So I'd run a connector campaign, and that's on here. A messenger campaign is to target all the people in your first degree network. So everybody that's in my first degree network, I've got, I don't know, maybe 18, 19,000 people. These are amazing people for a few things. Invite them to my event, invite them to use the software, maybe for recruitment if I'm hiring, but a messenger campaign can be perfect to everybody in your network. But also what you can do is a messenger campaign to anybody that's in a group. So you run a campaign to message everybody in a group, and you can do this to 50, 100 people per day. So that's what I mean by messenger campaign. Open in-mail campaign is what I showed you here. If you can filter everybody that has an open account. So if we look at Brand here, and let's just find his profile. Yeah, you'll see he has this gold icon next to it. There we go. And this gold icon means he has an open profile. So I can message him by an open InMail account without needing to connect with him. And the final campaign I want to show you is this one here called an import connector campaign. And an import connector campaign is the following. If you think about LinkedIn, what they want to do is get the whole world on LinkedIn. And one of the ways of how you get everybody onto LinkedIn is to make it really easy to sync external contacts to join LinkedIn. So when you go to your network, a lot of people won't realize this because it might have been a long time ago. But when you first signed up to LinkedIn, it'll pop up and say, do you want to integrate something external like your email? Or there's this option here by My Network. And if you go to this, it'll say, do you want to connect with people that are in your address book? What this means is LinkedIn has this function where you can upload a list of email addresses, and LinkedIn in bulk will find those emails, see if they're linked to a LinkedIn account, and connect with them. And this is done in bulk. So there's no way of controlling the numbers, but it's anything between 200 to maybe 600 per week. So this is the manual way. So if you've got a list of email addresses, say for example, this event, you've all registered for the event, you've all given email address. So everybody that's registered for this event, what I'll probably do next week is import it into this, and I'll send you all a connection request saying, thanks for attending the event, that sort of thing. The reason why they're so powerful is this bypasses any restrictions that LinkedIn has on your account. So if LinkedIn say you can only connect with 100 people per week, it doesn't include this feature. If LinkedIn say you're visiting too many profiles, you can't visit anymore, doesn't include this feature. If LinkedIn say you can't connect with any more people, or only connect with people you know, and you get a suspension or flag, you can still use this feature. So this is not a workaround. I try and say this is an addition to the current campaigns to really, really push. But what Prospect Labs has that I want to show you is this function called import connector campaign. And an import connector campaign, this one here, means that you can upload all the people that you have email addresses for, and it'll run campaigns in bulk. And this is an example here that I'm doing currently. So this one here, I ran an event about 2 months ago. It was about 3,000 people registered. There were so many people there that I didn't have time each day by day to connect with 20 or 30 people. So I uploaded everybody into this, and the stats, 50% connecting, about 15% replying. And here was the message I sent. With the import connector campaign, you can't add a connection message. It just does it in bulk because it's this feature here. It's a bulk feature. But then what you can do one day later is say, thanks for connecting. I would like to introduce you to my event, that sort of thing. So the balance of this that I really, really like is you can do things in bulk on LinkedIn that has no impact on the safety or health of your account. And if you do this in tandem, what I'm trying to show you is you can be sending 200 to 300 messages per day and be really healthy. And this is what I want to show you here. Again, I don't want to do too much about Prospect Labs because I want to show you a good balance, but I want to show you how I've done things and how I get results. So what I usually say is most people should be doing 40 to 60 connections per day. Messages I do to first degree or to groups, and I do between 80 to 100. Open InMail, I do about 30 to 50. And then an import connector, it runs once a week and it is about 200 to 300. So anybody on this call currently who's saying, I've been restricted by LinkedIn, LinkedIn's a waste of time, I think you're following the wrong script. By improving the quality, by getting much higher results, what you'll be able to see is you can message hundreds of people per day. Now, this is not a screenshot. This is not edited. This is my accounts that I use to grow my own business. And as you can see here, that was the import connector campaign that sent 140 connections or 140 connected in the day. So it sent about 300 actual connections. But you can see it's constant, high quality, reaching out to people and trying to do two things: generating a hell of a lot of leads and a lot of business, but at the same time, keeping my account safe, because this is such an important sales tool to me that I'll rely on not just for sales, but for the growth of my business. Okay, so if you think of where we're at, we've gone through a lot of different LinkedIn searches and a lot of different LinkedIn campaigns, and then we have the next part. So you'll have different questions about how to approach LinkedIn, how to get better results. But what I want to do is keep this on topic of the theme today, which is how do you combine LinkedIn, how do you combine the email, and how do you do the bit in between? So let's just shift for a couple of minutes, and I want to go across to email. So email, there are tons of softwares out there that you can use. My tried and tested is Snovio, snov.io. And you can see I'm not sharing an affiliate link. I'm not getting a partnership program. I don't benefit from this at all. but it's the best on the market that I use personally, so that's why I recommend it. The reason I like this so much is this tool will find business emails from anywhere. And this is what I mean. So if you sign up and you go to Snovio, which is snov.io, you need to do one thing when you register. And if you go to your account and search settings, you need to make sure you untick add a generic contact email and you untick personal email. The reason you untick this is most of you that are on this call are either going to be in Europe or even US, which I'm not so sure about the GDPR policy. But again, best practice is message somebody from a business email. The only caveat to that is if you're a recruiter, a lot of people prefer to email personal emails to get bypass sort of companies or firewalls or that sort of thing, or people trying to message privately. But in general, you want to find a business email. And so what Snovio does is if you remove this and remove this, it helps you to find business emails. And this is how it works. So when you sign up, there'll be two plugins that will pop up and say, can you install? And it's these two here, a white one and a purple one. The white one is to scrape from websites, and the purple one is to scrape from LinkedIn. And I just want to show you a quick example of what I do here. So if you look on LinkedIn, and again, I would target email marketing. And we said one of the main things I'd go to is email marketing and events. And I found this one before, email marketing conference. So we talked about one approach, messaging them all on LinkedIn. But what about the other approach, messaging them all by email? So what I do here is I click, I make sure the page is all open, and then I click Snovio icon, this one here, the white one, and it pulls down a list of all the people from the page. And I would click find emails and save. So for the sake of today, just to make it a little bit quicker, I've already done this for you, and this is how it looks. So out of 10 people, it's found 8 emails. So these are 8 business emails. Some it's found 2, some it can't find any, some it's not sure. And what it means by not sure is up here. So green is the valid emails. This software has found 5 valid emails, 1 not sure, and 2 can't tell. So what I do is filter by those 5 valid emails, and I say, great. Those are the 5 people that I would message from that page. And all I would do is go through page by page, or maybe 5 at a time, that sort of thing. But I'm trying to, again, be safe on my account. So again, I would click, I think it's this one here. Yep. And then click find emails and save. And run page 2 to 10. Hopefully it's sharing with a Chrome plugin, but sometimes when you share a screen, it doesn't always show the Chrome plugin. So you might have to just trust me on this. But basically what you do is using Snovio, you click the plugin, share your screen, and this will convert all the people into business emails. Like anything, this is sitting on top of LinkedIn. So if you scrape 100 pages, LinkedIn are going to feel like this is automated, and they don't want you to do that. If you scrape 5 or 10 pages once an hour, and by the end of the week, you've got 1,000 emails, slow and steady always wins the race. So what I do with this tool is I find everybody's business email here, and then I've now got 2 audiences. I've got all of the audience's LinkedIn profiles, and about 50% I've got their business emails as well. And because it's all scraped from LinkedIn, you have this full list that has LinkedIn, first name, last name, and email address, and you're now in a position to think what to do with that. So I think with email marketing, there's a huge amount I can go into in terms of what to write, what to say, but I think all of that falls down if you don't have the first few things, validated business email and the person's first name and possibly their company name. There's one extra tool I'm going to show you very, very quickly that I don't personally use yet, but I'm sort of testing it out. And it's this one called Lineai. And let's just see if this shows up here. Cool. So Lineai is a software where if you imagine with Snovio, you scrape all the LinkedIn profiles, you find all the business emails, you can then upload it into here. And what Lineai will do is try and find a personalized email address about everybody's profile. So it'll scrape their profile and say, have they created any posts? Have they created any blog posts? Have they got any case studies? Is there any news on the website? Have they liked anybody's content? Do they have a featured section where they talk about something? And what this tool will do is try and make an intro line to say, I don't know, hey, Katrin, hope you're well. I saw you were recently taking part in this event. How did it go? Anyway, the reason for connecting is, and something like that. So this makes something that looks highly personalized, but it's still automated. So I really love things like this because my personal passion is how do I get something that looks so personalized that makes people feel special, but times 1,000 people a month, and trying to do that game. It's almost like the Turing test where do people know if it's a robot or not? That's what I want to do. And it's very hard that if you have a perfect audience and if you have a perfect message, the message is still static. Whereas if you use something like Lineai, the personalized message is bespoke to every single person. And this gets a lot of fun. So I'm not going to go through that too much today, but Lineai is a tool you might want to look into. Okay, going back to Snowvio. So Snowvio is a very cool tool. You could use Find That Lead, Hunter.io. There's a lot of different softwares that I'm not associated with. And the general idea is, can you find a tool that will find anybody's email address predominantly from LinkedIn? And so if you go back to the first half of the webinar, how do you find your target audience in LinkedIn? It's the exact same thing. You find them by people, events, groups, whatever it is. And once you find this list, not only have you got all the LinkedIn profiles, but you can now find a lot of the email addresses. Different industries depend. If you're targeting things like startups, they're very public. You find like 50 to 60% email addresses. If it's something more niche, then sometimes it's 20 to 30%. So it's not perfect for everybody. But this is why I'm trying to show this approach of how to do everything. And just trust me, I've got some really big things to show you coming up of how to put this all together. Okay, so you have the LinkedIn approach, searches, campaigns, email, import, connector, all that type of things. And then you have emails, finding business emails. Now it's the bit in between. So if you think about outbound marketing and what does this mean? So I think it was HubSpot that coined the phrase, and HubSpot would say outbound marketing is the process of being proactive. It's going out there and generating business. So outbound marketing is LinkedIn connecting, email cold campaigns, cold calling, knocking on doors, sending posts, maybe trade shows, but it's that sort of approach where you say, I'm going to make something happen today. I'm going to go out and find sales. That's outbound marketing. On the other hand, inbound marketing is to say, I'm going to educate people. I'm going to create content and make people aware of what I am, raising their brand. So inbound marketing is things like creating content, SEO, writing, creating, I don't know, blog posts, creating videos, YouTube, Facebook, but it's not going out there, it's putting out the content and saying, come to me. And there's this bit in between. So at Prospect Labs, we call this the bound framework. And I recently made a blog about this that I want to show you here that I'll be sending with you all after the webinar. This one here called the bound framework. Basically, what I call the bound framework is how do you combine outbound and inbound to find that sweet spot in between? And this is what I mean. So we've talked about all the LinkedIn campaigns before, not this morning, but this before. So that's the LinkedIn outbound. And we've talked about the email outbound. Now, what's the inbound bit and how do we mix it together? The inbound bit is like this. So let's have a look at this person here, Tom. With Tom's profile, I can do a few things. Number one, I'm now viewing his profile. So if I wanted to try and sell to Tom, the first thing is I've visited his profile. So he now knows that I'm looking at his profile. What's the next thing I can do? I can endorse him. So I can go down here and I can say, maybe if he's got any endorsement, here we go. I can say, Tom's an expert at security. Tom's an expert at management. You need to be connected to do this, but if you're connected, you can endorse him. What else can I do? I can go to his company page. Here we go. And I can follow his company. So with regards to his company, I can now follow it and he'll get a notification saying Patrick Collins is now following Nord Security. What else can I do? I can look at his content, and he's recently made a content here. And you can see a lot of people liking it, but only 6 comments. So if I want him to be aware of me, I can maybe like his post or comment on it to say something. But even liking it, he'll get an alert that I've liked his post. So what I'm trying to show you here is you don't need to be an expert at creating lots of content, but you can do certain touch points just to get that person thinking of you on their radar. And those are the sorts of things like liking their posts, following the company, visiting the profile, or maybe endorsing them. And here's what I want to show you. How do you now compare this all together? So what I've been showing you here is Prospect Labs, what I call version 1. This is the software that's an invite-only software. A couple of hundred people using it, but a closed community of people that all use LinkedIn and all want to generate more leads, LinkedIn only. But what I want to show you now is Prospect Labs version 2. And Prospect Labs version 2 is how do you combine LinkedIn and email and put it all together. And this is what I want to show you. The reason why I wanted to create this, and I'm going to show you this here, is for the past 10 years, I've been doing 3 things. I would be finding people on LinkedIn and messaging them. I would be cold emailing them, and sometimes I'd be cold calling, although it tires you out, so I don't do it as much. But there was always 3 strategies: call, email, LinkedIn. And there's so many variables of what you do. Some people will send an email. If they don't open, they'll cold call them. Other people connect, and as soon as they accept, they'll call them. And if they don't answer, they'll email, and there's all these different things. The reason you do this is not everybody's active on one channel. And even if they are active on one channel, they might respond to you on LinkedIn and say, sounds great, send me an email. And then you've got to get them on another channel. The reason I think this is more powerful in trying to multi-channel is try and think about this. There's a lot of psychology that goes into dating. Let's skip sales for 1 second to dating. And what they say is on a first date, if you can take somebody to more than 3 destinations, the person will feel like they know you way, way better than if you just went to 1 destination. So instead of going just to a restaurant, you go to a restaurant, you go to a bar, and you go for a walk, that sort of thing. The general idea is if you can get somebody used to you in multiple touch points, that builds up the relationship much more. Now, I'm not here to lecture you on sales. I'm here to talk to you about on relationships, but I'm here to talk to you about sales. And within sales, if you can have some sort of conversation where they interact with you on LinkedIn, then they get some sort of interaction by email and maybe something other in terms of a social post, it builds up more credibility, it builds up more trust, and it increases the chances of you generating leads. The problem, though, is how do you manage everything? And I've seen a load of people say to me, if I connect with somebody on LinkedIn, I've then got to update a system that doesn't email them. Or if they reply, I've got to manually stop them. And just juggling all 3 systems is very difficult. So people either waste way too much time on automation, or they try and do it, but they find that they can't balance everything the same way. So I just want to show you, this is the approach that I do on Prospect Labs version 2. So I always start with here, visit a profile. And I'll say, this audience that I've scraped from LinkedIn, I've got the email addresses, they all go into here. And step 1, visit the profile. And then I'll say, I'm going to like one of their posts. And I'm going to do this instantly. And I'm going to say, if I like one of their posts and I visit them, I only want to like one of their posts if they're talking about startup. So this is now automated that all of these people, it could be for all of you that attend this event, I'll visit all your profiles, I like all of your posts, and I'll do a criteria that will say if connected. And so what the software will do is say, if we're already connected, what's the next step? And this is where the branch will sort of split up. And I'll say connection request. So if we're not connected, I'll send a connection request. And if we are connected, I'll send a traditional follow-up message. So if you're doing a LinkedIn connecting campaign, you'll want to connect with the person. Then if they accept, you send a follow-up message. And if they don't accept, you might chase them up a little bit. So we go down this route. We've visited the profile, liked the post. If they're connected, we'll send a follow-up message. After that, I usually do an endorsement. And I'll say, maybe 2 days later, let's endorse them for the top skills. At any one time, if they reply, this whole chain will stop. But if they do reply, if they don't reply, I'll then do the next thing. Maybe another follow-up message 2 days later. And then if they still don't reply, I'll do one final follow-up message, maybe 2 weeks later. So if you see this approach, what I'm trying to do is say, everybody goes into this from a really bespoke target audience. And the bespoke target audience is from events, courses, groups, that sort of thing. And once they come in here, I'll say, visit the profile. I'm going to like the post. If they're connected, I'll then say, send a follow-up message. I'll then endorse them. And if they don't reply, another message 2 days later. And if they don't reply, a final one 2 weeks later. So that's sort of a traditional LinkedIn campaign. And you could do this manually. You could use Prospect Labs version 1, lots of other tools. That's set. The way this now splits, and this is the huge game changer for me, and I've honestly been wanting this for years and years, is how it splits the next way. So if they don't connect, I would then send a connection request. And I would wait for, say, 5 days. That's a long enough time to say, have they accepted? And then I'll say, send connection, check here. So if they connect, send a connection request, and then I'll say, if connected. And this is where we'll split. If we are now connected, I go down the follow-up message, and it's that sort of route. If we're not connected, I'm going to say, does the email exist? So does the person have an email? So if you think about when we go back to Snovio, and this software here to find all the emails, you don't get 100%. You get something like 30%, 40%. So if I can find if the email exists, and they do, then I'm now going to change the flow and send an email. So this isn't about doing everything at once. It's trying to filter them down different channels. If they're connected, great. They go down follow-up message. If they're not connected, try, wait 5 days. And if they do, send a follow-up message. However, if I've had a couple of tries, and I always try to connect first because I think this is the most powerful thing you can do. But if they're not connected, I'll then say, let's check if the email exists. And if the email does exist, then you go into your traditional email approach. So I would say something like, if email was opened and it's not opened, I would send another email, something like that. And as you can see here, you can put in the email, you can send it just like a traditional email. So the general idea, and these are just placeholders for test. The traditional idea is that's now an email campaign. Send an email. If they don't open, send another one. If they don't click, if they don't reply, that sort of thing. If they do, then pause the campaign. So what we've got here is a mix of LinkedIn and email now working in tandem. Nothing crazy that somebody replies on LinkedIn and the same day they get an email from you. It's all staggered and all these different touch points. And it's not just about sending a connection request or email, it's the bits in between. Are you endorsing them? Are you liking their post? That sort of thing. If we go back to here, and if we say, if the email doesn't exist, what else can we do? And we have this one here, check if they've got an open InMail account. So open InMail is, if you remember here, I'll see if I find any, those people with that gold icon, the gold icon saying that they have an open profile. So again, if you've got an open InMail, you can then say, I'm going to send an open InMail campaign. And finally, if you think about this, and you probably think, wow, this is overwhelming, there's loads of different stuff here. This is what a lot of you are already doing, but you're juggling everything. You're on LinkedIn liking posts, you're sending email, you're sending connect requests. What I'm trying to say is do the hard work of find a really good target audience, do the hard work of finding the messages that you think are going to interact with people, or don't do the hard work, scrape all the emails and use that software called Lineai, for example. But however way, fill it into the top and then focus your day on replying to people and converting leads to calls, leads to sales, that sort of thing. But the big time wasted for so many people is setting up campaigns, maintaining the campaigns, and actually trying to get results. Whereas I'm trying to show you here, this is a machine built of how you can do all of this. Final thing here is I always go back to, if I've tried all of this and it's not worked, final approach to say, I'm going to try one more time. Maybe they've now connected because I tried there. Maybe now the time to say, have they connected? And if they have connected with me, again, I do that follow-up message the same way that I would do here, that I would do here, and then I would do here. So the possibilities you have are endless, and I've had some amazing people been testing this out, and the graphs and images and all sorts you can see of all the different alternatives. But what you have here is a mix of a few things. One is the social selling, the things like visiting profiles, following companies, endorsing people, and liking posts. So if you have these here, these are all the touch points that will just make it mean that a little bit more natural. So if you imagine you could visit somebody's profile, like the post, and your connection message could be, hey, Patrick, I read one of your posts, thought it was about time we connected. I think that's a really personalized message. I have no idea you've automated all of that and you don't even know who I am. So that's a really sort of strong approach that you can do. And that's the automation there. Then if I just remove these for 1 second, what you can then do is say, how do you interact after that? So how do you do a series of follow-up messages? And this goes back to the argument between manual and automated. So I just want to touch on this for 2 seconds. So many people think that automation is this horrible word, this dirty word. You can't automate. I'm about high quality. If 90% of the people I connect with accept, that's way higher than I would be doing manually because I'm doing the formula, I'm sticking to something. So to me, automation is about finding something that works and then repeating it consistently. So if you're not automating something, you're leaving things to chance. Chances are, I don't have time, so I'm just going to send a quick message. I'm going to bulk message everybody on Monday. That's when I have time. I've had a terrible time today. I'm in a bad mood. I'm just going to reply everybody very quickly. I don't leave gut reaction, external circumstances. I let automation keep my results consistent. The second thing is LinkedIn don't give you any stats. I know my campaigns are doing well because Prospect Lab shows me a dashboard. On LinkedIn, if you do everything manual, you don't know how many people are connecting. So when LinkedIn will flag your account for saying you're connecting with too many people or you're not getting good enough results, they don't show you the results. So it's really important to use automation, not to scale things up like crazy, but the opposite, to be highly safe and highly quality. So if you start to pull all this together, what you'll see is you find your target audience via all sorts of searches on LinkedIn. You find business emails via tools like Snovio. You import it into a system like this, and then you say, run the machine. And the machine starts to visit profiles, liking people, connecting with people. If they're not accepted, going down one route. If they are accepted, can they check an email? Can they check open email? And anytime this works, the chain will stop and the person will reply and say, great, let's have a chat. So that's why I push this approach. So what I wanted to show you today is you have a huge amount of chances to do everything manual, and you have a huge amount of chances to do everything automated. And it's up to you to say, what do you want to do? How do you focus on this? And how do you do everything in between? So again, my approach isn't to try and crazy push the software, because I want everybody here who wants to learn to help you in any way I can. Some of you say, yes, I want loads of accounts. Some of you say, I don't have a budget, I just want to learn. And I want to help everybody in between. So what I wanted to show you today is, can you be more creative on LinkedIn? Events, campaigns, posts, companies to find your audience. Can it be more creative on email to find business emails so you don't target anybody that's not GDPR compliant? And then do you put this all together to add them bits in between, which I call the bound framework, by liking posts, interacting, but do it step by step. If you plug all this in and switch it on, the next thing that I can't really train you on is how to close. Now, there's lots of people I'm sure that on this webinar that could train you on that. And although I've got my own approaches, I like to say, if I'm getting, I don't know, 5 to 10 people per day interested in what I'm doing, closing becomes very easy, because it's a natural progression to say, why wouldn't you work with me? Let's do this. So if you've all got an alternative, sales gets very easy. If you've only got one person you're really trying to sell to, your mindset changes. So if you can be in this sort of approach where you're getting lots of leads coming in, the next step of converting just gets easier and easier because you've got more practice at this. But thank you so much for your time today. I know how busy you all are and taking time out of your busy schedule. You'll all get a recording of this. There'll be blog posts, and email me anytime to ask questions. And if you want to jump on a call, I can already do training with you. But that's all for today. Thank you so much. It's been awesome. Keep in touch.